I was at the biggest robbery in British history, the Safe Deposit Box Centre in Clerkenwell. A few years ago, I was returning to my brother's place and I was passing a safety deposit unit in Clerkenwell. The alarm was going off. Basically, these guys came out. I saw them. I knew straight away they were up to something. 4 of them were quite old and there was one young one. I said, come on, why's the alarm going off? And they said, oh, we've been fixing it and stuff like that. They weren't fixing it. What these guys had just done, they'd just pulled off the biggest robbery in British history. They'd taken millions and millions of quid's worth of diamonds and gold and everything. The police had no idea who did it, and it took them a while to chase these guys down, but eventually they caught up with them and found that they were all old geezers in their 80s, but they never caught the young one, the one that I saw.
My dad's an Uber driver. He doesn't have good survival instincts. He had his phone there, and then the scooters and stuff, everyone took advantage of that, robbed him, bam, gone. He was like, call the police, he was getting angry. And I was like to him, like, you're not getting your phone back.
When I was 17, I was falsely accused of punching a police officer in the face. I was walking back from a friend's house with my boyfriend at about 10 p.m. at night. When I was quite close to my parents' house, a police car driving past us quite fast did a U-turn to where we were and screeched to a stop. I was already a little bit afraid of the police, so I just carried on walking, hoping that this incident was nothing to do with me. But my boyfriend had stopped and he was talking to one of the police officers. So I turned back, and as I was walking back towards my boyfriend, the police officer closest to me turned around, grabbed my arm and held it into the air, which was shocking and painful. I tried on instinct to pull my hand back from him, at which point he threw me on the floor, had my hands behind my back, and was kneeling on my back. I could hear the police calling for backup, and I was aware that they'd thrown my boyfriend onto the ground as well. A police van came with 7 other police officers. I was put in the back of a police car. My knee was bleeding. I was really confused. I was really shocked and upset. I was brought to a police station far away from where my parents' house was. I was in shock. I was having a panic attack. I think I confirmed some details and was put in a cell for 14 hours. When I was finally being released, I was told that I was being charged with assaulting a police officer. The police statement said that I punched him twice in the face and he immediately tasted blood. It didn't say anything about the context of the situation.
I've seen a case of domestic abuse happen in Hackney once. I was in the street late at night and there was a woman waiting for a bus. There was a man with her and they were obviously in a dispute that had been happening for a while. Then he was being violent, and so I stepped in and talked to the woman, and then we went to the police station. I was going with the woman because I wanted to make sure that she could get to the police station, and the man was following us and threatening us a little bit from behind. But I also think that the woman may have been homeless, because afterwards, when I was talking to her at the police station, it seemed like she had nowhere to go. Then she tried to follow me home as well. I talked to the police about this and it didn't seem like they could do anything about it.
I didn't get found guilty. I got what was called a bind over, which is kind of like when you make a bet with a judge that you won't do any crimes. And if you do a crime within a year, then you have to pay them £100. And if you don't, then it gets completely wiped from your record. That's the closure I got. I would like this to remain anonymous because I'm a teacher. As a teacher, you can't be seen to criticize anything to do with the government or other public services. It's completely eroded any trust in the police that I had.
I just started at a new company in London, literally only moved here a few months ago. And my boss emailed me on a work from home day saying, I need you to go get loads of gift cards. And I work in travel public relations. I'm always doing things for clients. I'm getting like gift bags and because I'm at the bottom of the barrel still, I'm always doing these kind of mundane tasks. And I really wanted to do a good job for my CEO. She was texting me going, oh, Darcy, like, I need this, and I don't have a company card. I was spending hundreds of pounds, and I was texting my boss going, I've spent all my money. I only have £800 in my account right now. And then she was like, can you get your dad to transfer? And so I was getting my dad to transfer me money to help my boss, because she was like, I'll pay you back at the end of the day. It got to the end of the day, it got to 5 o'clock on a Friday, and I still had heard nothing. And my texts weren't sending anymore. So I was texting my colleagues like, what's going on? Is she out of her meeting? Like, is my boss okay? And they were like, what? One of my colleagues rang my actual boss and was like, Darcy has been a victim of the gift card scam. And everyone knows about this scam and I don't even know about it. I hate hindsight because now I'm like, oh duh. But at the time I wanted to do a good job. Once I found my actual boss found out that I was scammed £800. She Zoom called me immediately and I was in a state, floods of tears. She's like, we will pay you the £800. And that was unbelievable because she knew what £800 was to me. And then I obviously contacted my bank, contacted the police, but they managed to get my money back, despite actually me being the one spending £800. Yeah, and then I was able to not only get my money back, I was able to reimburse my boss. So that was a really happy ending to my story, I guess. Now, anytime anyone messages me, my dad will be like, oh, hi, like, can you send me like a tenner? I'm like, no. I don't send it by pigeon.
The one time I got out of a taxi and I was assaulted by two lads. My friend and I missed our train, so we decided to get a taxi back halfway and get the bus from there. When we got out of the cab, there were two lads at the bus stop who were a bit drunk. They went to jump in our taxi. We explained that it wasn't in their taxi, it was ours. So one kicked my friend as the other got in my face. They both ganged up on me. One stamped on my foot, I couldn't walk for about 3 weeks. And one punched me in the face, leaving me with this beautiful scar. Here's the original injury. My friend steadied me up. Once I realised I was covered in blood, and once they realised, they walked off.
I'm quite a good boy in it, so I don't really get involved in like all that. I've been around, I used to live a couple of miles from here, where a lot of crime used to happen. It'd be like petty stuff, like people robbing each other's like blackberries and stuff. And then as I was growing up, a lot of stabbings was happening.
I'm a little bit more on edge when I'm walking around now. This actually happened outside the city. So I actually think the outskirts of London are a bit more dodgy than being in the city, whereas in London, people just seem to get on with stuff and like go about their business, mostly. Yeah.
I just stay aware all the time. Not like a lot of tourists that you will find here with their phones out and everything, with the iPhone 15s and stuff. When I see them, I'm like, mate, like, I feel like a thing for them, do you know what I mean?
I witnessed Planet Organic being robbed. This man ran in and just stole tons of the jars of supplements, you know, the really expensive ones. He then ran out the shop. The guy followed after him, who, like, the shop owner, like, grabbed his hoodie. The jars, glass jars, smashed all over the ground. And then this guy starts punching the owner, and it was like literally in broad daylight. And what was absolutely bonkers to me was people going about their daily lives, like just walking past, and I was thinking, what's going on? How? But apparently this happens all the time.
One of my friends recently, like, he was coming off the station and a couple of like younger guys just approached him and said, do you know what time it is? But this was like a double text. He was implying like, oh, it's time for you to give me your stuff.
Does that kind of thing freak you out?
Yeah, a little bit. It's pretty crazy, you know?
A few months ago, I got mugged round here. I got my wallet and phone there. After I reported it, they wanted me to go to a police station to make a statement. And I told them that out straight. I know the person who done it. And they didn't want to know.
I just remember I was like frozen in place when I saw it happen. I was like, oh my God. I heard a bunch of revving outside my flat, so I went to go and have a look. There was a police chase happening. It was a guy in a blue van being followed by a policeman on a motorbike, and they turned the corner and the policeman followed suit. The policeman then stopped and sort of started to try and reverse a bit, but the blue car was already reversing at full speed into the policeman on the motorbike, and he got knocked off his bike. He flew in the air like a few feet, and the guy just drove off. It was quite scary to think that that could have happened right outside my flat, and kind of the fact that it was a policeman as well was a bit, ooh, because they're supposed to know what to do, and it was like, here's this guy who has had all this training and he's lying on the ground.
I work with children, I'm a mentor. I was in Swiss Cottage, walking with the young person, and the young person says to me, oh, watch out. There's some boys over the road, they're watching your phone. And I thought, oh, okay, no problem. I've looked at them in the eyes, they've looked at me back and thought, I'm not gonna trouble this man. He looks like he might catch us. They've looked at another woman who's walking down, they've grabbed her phone, she's gone hysterical, had to call the police. It took them almost an hour to even come. This is in Swiss Cottage, central London. Shouldn't take an hour for the police to come. What if someone was stabbed? What if it was worse, more severe? Would it take them an hour to come? We need quicker responses. We need to stay vigilant and watch out for these young children on these pedal bikes, on these mopeds, and keep all your expensive possessions away in your pockets, in your bags, because life is so expensive now. So the cost of living and the way we're living is making crime rise.
I actually come from a family with 5 police. A story that always stuck with me was one of my uncles arrested someone for some petty crime, and he was actually a youth and took him home And his father actually said to him like, oh, you're so silly for getting caught. It's kind of a cycle they're stuck in, and it's really hard to get to the root of these problems. We're all worried about this person in a dark alleyway, but I feel like there is actually crime everywhere that we don't know about.
Where it doesn't matter what country you go to, you're always going to get crime. There was one time I was driving and then I actually see a woman get stabbed in the back of the head. So I rung the police and then they asked me to point the guy out, which I did, and they took him. Lucky enough, the girl was all right.
I think there is kind of an idea that London is just inherently very dangerous, but not at all, in my experience.
You do switch off to some of the things that happen around you as well, to the point where if they're not an immediate threat, then they just blend into the chaos.
Living in London for 15 years, heard about something, but haven't really anything happened to me. The kind of petty crime, grab and go, is very common in London, I heard. That's why I changed it to myself.
I was coming back from Bracknell after visiting my mum's friend, and we're waiting at the bus stop. I'm just going to like the local corner shop to pick up a snack. This guy walks in and he goes to like the drink area. He grabs the drink, he looks at the cashier and he just walks out. And the cashier didn't even do anything, he just stared at the guy.
How does it feel for you knowing your daughter's in a world where crime happens?
I'm glad when they experience crime, they know it's crime, it's not the right thing to do. I always encourage her to report.
It's a funny one, but I thought that was a crime. I witnessed somebody on the roadside. I nearly called the police and I told them they need to go away, but they just continued doing what they were doing and just walked past. I mean, sorry, but that is something gross.
Me and my sister were on our way to Battersea station, so we were on the TfL. This guy, we looked to the left, and this guy literally was on the floor with his trousers down. I think probably he was on drugs. And you can see like literally everything, proper exposed. His was proper out. And then I looked to the right and I saw this father and his kids come in. I looked at the father and I was like, because you just don't know what he's gonna do essentially. We come off and then thankfully like the TfL staff come in, like 6 of them come in to like take the guy.
A few days ago I was up working quite late and I heard enormous crashing sound and I thought that one of my neighbour's cars was being stolen. Actually instead somebody had been drink driving in one of the hire cars and the car hit one of my neighbour's cars. Just living in London you get used to a certain background level of crime, and as long as people aren't hurt, it's just something that you get used to.
My neighbour's car was stolen. Everyone within my community was quite worried about like what could happen to their car. A few days later, the police got in touch and said that they had found their car. I think it makes a lot of people sort of mistrust people in general, and I feel like that kind of makes it more difficult for people to kind of build deeper connections with each other.
My friend's bike got stolen, and then a couple of months later, she was just looking through Facebook Marketplace to find a replacement, and she found one that was similar to hers. And then out of curiosity, she was like trying to bargain a price for it, and then she ended up buying it. There was an issue with her bike, so her stepdad had it fixed somehow that made it different. And then when they checked that bike when they got it back, he was like, I think this is actually your bike. She bought back her own stolen bike.